Hey everybody, today we've got another presidential political shift. This time we've got two consecutive elections. It's going to be 1952 and 1956. This is comparing Dwight Eisenhower on his first election and his second. If you want to just skip ahead to the map, there will be a link down below in the description. If you want to get a little bit of background about these elections, let's take a look at that. 1952, Eisenhower. He won his first term with 442 electoral votes. He carried 39 states and got 55.2% of the popular vote. His opponent was Adlai Stevenson, and he got 89 electoral votes, carried 9 states, good enough for 44.3% of the popular vote. In 1956, it was a rematch. This time Eisenhower did better. He got 457 electoral votes, carried 41 states, with over 57% of the popular vote. This time Stevenson went down to 73 electoral votes, carried 7 states, and got 42% of the popular vote. So definitely an improvement for Eisenhower. Let's get back to the spreadsheet. In the first column, we've got the states. Then we've got the 52 Stevenson vote, followed by the 52 Eisenhower vote. Then we jump ahead 4 years. We've got the 56 Stevenson vote, then the 56 Eisenhower vote. Then the next column are the Democratic shifts between those two elections, followed by the Republican shifts. The last column is the net change between the two parties between the two elections. And then I have shading. The darkest colors are 10 or more points. The lightest colors are under 5 points. 3 levels of shading. So let's get into this. And I took the data from Wikipedia. Once in a while there's a discrepancy, especially in the South. I tried to make it as simple as I can. It's also possible there could be a mistake once in a while, but having said that, let's get started. In Alabama, in 1952, Adlai Stevenson got 64.6% of the popular vote. Dwight Eisenhower got 35. In the rematch, Stevenson sank to 56.5. Eisenhower bumped it up to 39.4. That's a net loss of 8.1 for the Democrats, a net gain of 4.4 for the Republicans. It's a total net shift of 12.5 away from the Democrats and toward the Republicans. So now we know how this works. We can go through the rest of the states. Alaska, Hawaii, and DC were not states and did not vote back then, so there's no shift there. The next state is Arizona, 5.3 toward the Republicans. Arkansas, similar shift, 5.4 toward the Republicans. California went toward the Democrats by 3.4, as did Colorado by 1.7. Connecticut, big double-digit shift toward the GOP by 15.6. Same direction in Delaware by 6.6, Florida by 4.6, and Georgia by 5.6. Idaho shifted toward the left by 8.6. Illinois, Stevenson's home state, he didn't carry it either time, and that shifted 9.3 toward Eisenhower and the Republicans. Indiana, smaller red shift of 3.1. Iowa, back toward the Democrats by 9.8, and in Kansas by 7.1. Now we've got more red shifts. First in Kentucky, 9.2. Louisiana, big one there, 19.6. Maine at 9.5. Maryland, 8.5. Massachusetts 10.2. And take a look at Michigan. Both candidates gained 0.2%, so that resulted in no net change whatsoever. In Minnesota, they went toward the left by 3.6. Mississippi, bigger blue shift of 12.9. Missouri, small blue shift of 1.8. Montana, blue shift of 5.1. Nebraska, 7.3. And Nevada, an even 7. New Hampshire, back toward the GOP by 10.5. New Jersey, another red shift of 15.7. New Mexico, a milder red shift of 4.9. New York back up to 10.6. And North Carolina by 6.4. North Dakota had a strong blue shift of 19%. Ohio went back toward the Republicans by 8.6. Oklahoma, a milder shift there by 1%. Oregon, double digits, 11.1 toward the Democrats. Pennsylvania 7.4 toward the right, even more in Rhode Island by 14.8. South Carolina 18.8 toward the Democrats. South Dakota had the biggest shift out of all the states, 21.8 toward the Democrats. Tennessee had almost no net change, only 0.3 toward the Republicans. Texas had a stronger red shift of 4.9. Utah even stronger by 11.4. Vermont, a milder red shift of 1.1. And in Virginia by 4.1. Washington went 1.1 toward the Democrats. Another big red shift in West Virginia by 12%, and a smaller one in Wisconsin by 1.5%. And the last state is Wyoming. That shifted 5.4 toward the Democrats. And there's your national shift, 4.5 points away from the Democrats and toward the Republicans. So there's all the states and all the shifts. And if you want to see all these shifts on a map, let's take a look at that. So here it is. We've got similar shading. The darkest colors, 10 or more points. This time, the very lightest colors, those are under 1 point shifts. Those would be the tilt margins. There's really only Tennessee. Michigan had no net change, but if you go down to the hundredths of a point, then I do think it did shift very slightly toward the Republicans. So other than that, what are the takeaways? Well, overall, it was a solid national shift toward Eisenhower and the Republicans. Republicans, and you get a couple of big blue shifts in the South, in Mississippi and South Carolina. But other than that, the blue shifts are concentrated along the West Coast and most of the Great Plains from Colorado, Kansas, and Missouri, all the way up from Idaho to Minnesota. The red shifts are pretty much everywhere else in the Southwest, from Arizona all the way around up through New England and Maine, and around down to Wisconsin and Illinois. So I'm sure there's plenty more nuance you could take away from this. I'm sure individual counties and individual states had their own reasons for these shifts. Stevenson lost his home state of Illinois twice. Eisenhower proved to be popular, and even though there was a good amount of states that did shift toward the Democrats, Eisenhower still did win most of those states, and he pretty much had a landslide in back-to-back elections. Of course, there were plenty of significant events happening in the country at the time that probably affects different states to different extents, but I'll leave that to you if you want to look more into the history of it. But these are the shifts from 1952 to 1956. It's a good one for Eisenhower and the Republicans, and I will leave it there for now. Let me know in the comments, what do you think about any of the shifts in any of these states? How about the candidates? How about the state of the country at the time? Let me know your thoughts down below. On your way out, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Join if you'd like to support the channel. Thank you for watching, and I will see you on the next video.